Justin, over other side. Last time we saw you, I think you were doing the guest fighter scrum in Salt Lake City. That was before the lightweight title fight. Now there's kind of a clear picture at the top of the division now. So what are your thoughts on the Islam's win and the rest of the state of the division at this point?
I mean, nothing short of impressive. I mean, there's nothing more you can really say about that. I mean, even if you were a huge fan of him, you gotta have doubts when it comes to this sport. Those factors of just anything can happen at any moment. But yeah, it was impressive. It was dominant. Yeah.
We spoke with Michael yesterday at the meeting. He said he was shocked at how it played out, and I guess the division fans now have to accept Islam as the champion. So were you as surprised as Michael watching how it played out?
I mean, I wasn't surprised he won at all. I mean, I was surprised that he dominated the way that he did. Yeah, it was surprised is a good word. I was actually hunting. I was out of cell phone service. I didn't get to watch it live. And when I got home and saw it, I was like, holy shit. Yeah, the dude's good. Those guys are good.
Obviously, they called Volkanovski into the octagon. What do you make of him coming up to your division to possibly challenge Islam for the title?
Yeah, I think it's fun. If I was Benil Dariush, I'd be a little bit more upset than I am, specifically because, I like things to work the way they're supposed to work. I lost for the title shot. I want to, win 2 fights, 2 impressive wins over, high caliber opponents, and then I'm right back in the picture. So, as a fighter, I always have to have the title in mind, no matter what stage of my career I'm in. And if it's not, then I have to get the F out of here. So that's absolutely the intentions. I know how it works. I know I need to finish 2 people, and then let it play out, because again, there's a couple guys that I either got to beat or let it fight. So.
Do you have any specific names that you think you would want those 2 names to be to get to the next title shot?
The way that I fight, the way that I win, when and when I fight, it doesn't matter who it is, especially with the rank that I have right now. Ultimately, there's plenty of guys, and my job is to fight. And I put as fighters, to the young fighters, we're gonna say yes to anything, to anybody, anytime. That's our job. That's a mindset that we have to have. I have a great manager, Ali, my coach Trevor Whitman, #1 coach in the world. Those guys will ultimately decide. I'm the CEO. I get to say yes at the end of the day, but they get to bring it to the table. And until they bring it to the table, I don't even process it really.
So they haven't come up to you with any names or anything like that? Possible return dates?
No. I mean, as far as right now, it's trying to figure out when I want to fight again. I really want to be on the card that Kamaru's on. It sounds like it's going to be in March. I don't know if it's going to be in London. I had a huge last fight. I got hit really hard. And one thing that we have over other sports is the ability to take some time off. I had my last every fight with the UFC has been absolutely huge. My last 3 or 4 fights have been, the biggest fights that you can be in. So, personal, we just gotta take time. So I got my nose fixed. When you get a concussion, then you should take some time off. So that's what I've been doing. I've been enjoying it. It's really fast and really slow. I'm enjoying the slow part, and I'm definitely missing the fast part now. So I'm back to sparring, back to just having fun.
And 2 more, unrelated to your career or anything, but this is going to be Frankie Edgar's retirement fight on Saturday. So were you a fan of Frankie coming up? Did you have any memories of him both in and out of the octagon?
Yeah, I mean, Frankie is a legend. I mean, I watched him growing up, and then I got the opportunity when, I think it was when I was going to fight Melvin. I don't know, it was probably around 2013. I was able to come out and stay in Frankie Edgar's in-laws basement for a week and train with him. So yeah, that was a cool experience for me. He was that was when he's still doing it, but that was when he had the belt, I think, or was fighting for belts, because he always has been. But yeah, that was a cool experience as an up and comer to go in there. And again, every time I've ever interacted with any athlete before I ever thought about coming here or whatever, they were all just so normal and they work hard. That dude taught me a lot of lessons on how to hold yourself accountable, be responsible. And he's a savage.
And finally, do you have any thoughts on the main event between Israel and Alex Bryant on Saturday?
I'm excited to watch it. I mean, I love fighting. I'm a huge fan of this sport. I've been to some Izzy fights, quite a few. I love the guy, I really do, but I always tell myself I'm never going to go back to one of his fights. But, you know, you cannot hate on somebody that's a winner, and that man's a winner.
You mentioned about fighting on Kamaru's card if it was to be in London. Is that something you'd rather it be in London to experience fighting over there with the crowd, or would you rather it be here at home?
What would I rather have? I guess if I had to choose, I would choose Las Vegas. Fight capital of the world. That's where I grew up competing. That's my favorite place to fight. But I've never been to London, so might as well go for free.
If they ended up putting Hamzat and Colby on that card, would that make it like a massive event, you think?
Any card that me and Kamaru's on is going to be massive, but anything you stack on top of that's going to just be the cherry on top. That's a good fight.
Who would you pick in that fight?
Oh God, I hate picking fights so bad. Like, we've all been here so long, and we know that anything can happen. Who do I favor at 170?
Yeah.
Can he make 170?
If he gets enough preparation time, I reckon, maybe?
If he makes weight, I think he's a beast. I don't know why he's cutting that much weight. He should be fighting Adesanya. I don't know. I guess I would favor Kamzat. Yeah, I mean, his wrestling is fantastic. I'll just never cheer for Colby, so.
I won't make you pick this one, but just your thoughts on Dustin versus Michael. Obviously, you've had history with both of them, and that could potentially be a barn burner.
Yeah, I am excited for that fight. It's, probably the fight I'm most excited for. This whole card's stacked, but that one's going to be fun. Well, I think it'll last quite a while. I think it might go to a decision. In my mind, every time I play it over, I see it very similar to the fight that me and Chandler had. It's going to be, Poirier's technique, trying to outclass how explosive Michael Chandler is. I think, the first round is so dangerous with Michael Chandler. Second round's almost as dangerous, and third round's not quite. So we'll see how it goes.
You mentioned you want two names before you get there. I'm curious, you'll fight anyone and whoever's presented to you. But if you could pick, an up-and-comer like Fiziev to show that I'm still at the top and these guys are still coming up, or a guy like Charles who's been at the top and is just
they both make just as much sense to me right now. I need 2 wins, doesn't matter who. They're going to be big fights. I don't want to fight just anybody, obviously, but yeah, both of those guys are possible fights for my next fight. But again, my job is to stay out of my emotions. If I think about those fights, I get emotional, because that's who we are. As humans, I have to put that responsibility on the people that I trust, which is my coach, my manager, and they're going to pick the best fight for me, whoever that is.
Thanks.
Justin, just over here, you touched on obviously wanting to be on the card with Usman. How do you think that trilogy goes down between Usman and Leon?
Yeah, I mean, Kamaru's the better fighter. We saw that in that fight. The reason we all love this sport is because of what happened. When you're on Leon's side of that, there's nothing better in the world. Or maybe having children, I don't have those, so that might be better, but it's going to be hard to top that. And winning the lottery is probably going to top that. So I think it's a dangerous fight for Kamaru, more dangerous than his last fight with him. The confidence is such a big factor in the sport, and Leon's going to have very high confidence. So ultimately, I think, other than that it factor, Kamaru wins. And he made mistakes in that final round, final moments. He wanted to knock somebody out more than win. And when you're at that level, you cannot make those choices.
Justin, right here. When you have a friend like that, a training partner like Kamaru, and that happens and he gets knocked out, what's going through your brain, and what do you say to him afterwards?
The first thing I said to him, I said we used to get caught on our back as children, and now we're getting caught on the chin. I mean, we've been doing this since we were children, and that really is, that is the truth. When we were 7 years old, 10 years old, 5 years old, and we lost, it was just as devastating as what he went through. You know, we didn't know any better at the time, and we've been preparing for the ups and downs our whole life.
Nate Diaz is someone that was in the weight class for a really long time. Looks like he's not going to be fighting the UFC anymore. Is that a regret that you never got that fight?
No, I don't regret it. I don't think it was ever the right time. I don't think it was ever the right fight.
Fair enough. And last question for me. You talk about you're always chasing the title. You've been really close at times. How is it to keep that doubt that it won't happen? Like, you know, what do you do to keep that doubt out of your mind?
I mean, you have to embrace the doubt. I mean, it's again, as a 7-year-old, when I lost, it was the most devastating thing that had ever happened to me in my whole life. And, you know, at the time, I didn't want to keep living, and then it happened again, and I just wanted to get better. But now it's my job, now it's my life, and now I'm inspiring thousands and thousands of people, you know, the people where I'm from, people across the world, to just get back on the horse and keep working. Ultimately, all I can do is trust in the preparation. So, you know, I don't know that I don't feel like I've made mistakes. Life's crazy, man. Like, I'm gonna share something with you. You know, it doesn't make sense, but again, nobody knows what we go through. My dumbass, 18 days before I fought Charles, I was riding my bicycle to the gas station to get some nicotine pouches, and I had like a vicious crash on my bike, smoked my head off the road, road rash all down my back, and then, you know, go in there and again take that damage that I took in that fight, and that's why I'm taking so much time off. But I mean, I don't, you know, it's just crazy what we go through. You know, each and every one of us has different circumstances. That was such a hurdle in my last thing. As soon as it happened, I had to go home and act like it didn't happen. Act like my vision didn't go 100% fucked up for 2 seconds. And that's what we've been doing since we were kids. You know, you put that doubt aside, and as soon as that happened, it's like, okay, what do I do next? How do I continue to improve and continue to just be ready for this fight? So yeah, it's life's crazy. I'm excited again. You know, I really wanted to take that break because of those instances of trauma, but I'm ready to do it again. I'll tell you that.
Years ago, you felt that you were going to have a few more wars and you were done. You were going to get out.
Yeah.
Obviously, you changed your fighting style a little bit, and you got better defensively and made some improvements and all that, and you no longer feel that way. But what specifically made you compartmentalize that trauma versus, you know, I'm just going to take X more trauma and then I'm done?
Well, no, those do not. I mean, those don't. It's not one or the other. Those two are the same. It was after the Poirier fight where I said I had 4 or 5 wars left. I definitely consider the Charles Oliveira fight a war. I don't think the trauma that I took in any other fight after that fight and in between the Charles Oliveira fight would constitute one. So on that record, I'm at 1. But you know, I'm also getting older. I wrestled since I was a kid. Football was my favorite sport in the world. 5 times more dangerous than what we do now. But I don't know. You know, as we get older, we get, I guess, more scared.
Speaking on football and the dangers, have you followed at all the concussions and such, say with like Tua down with the Miami Dolphins? You were talking about concussions earlier and getting to take time off.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just one instance of thousands and thousands of instances in football. Boxing, you can talk about boxing, they die. I don't know, it's not something we ever want to talk about, but we don't know because there's no scientific proof when it comes to how much trauma. What I ask doctors is, you know, is there a time frame between trauma that you need in order for that trauma not to, you know, stack on top of itself, per se. But we don't know any of this, and I should probably stop thinking about it.
Justin, look back a moment, a year ago, and that fight was just spectacular. I know you said you love fighting in Vegas, and you've been to New York before to fight, but that win last year was just, it's going to live among your career highlights. In the moment, I'm sure it's so hard to appreciate it. Looking back, do you kind of, again, that's an all-time fight, an all-time victory.
Yeah, that was something special. Yeah, Vegas doesn't top that. So, Madison Square Garden or Vegas.
Was there ever a point when you thought, like, this is where I was born? And then during, are you thinking during that moment, or is it pure action? Again, you said it was very poignant. You said we don't know what you go through. Like, to me, a fight like that, no one knows but you. That was so spectacular. What's it like in the moment?
I mean, that's the easiest part. I'm telling you. As stupid as it sounds, you know, when you're in the battle, you have no time to think, and when you're not thinking, you can't be scared. So, you know, it's all the preparation. It's the anticipation is what's going to kill you every single time. But in the moment, I mean, you either are or you're not. And yeah, I knew I was made for this a long time ago. I really did.
Thank you.
Just to elaborate, when you said you fell, was it a motorcycle that you crashed?
No, just a bicycle. I wasn't doing anything stupid. It was just my pedal snapped off when I was riding. I was just crazy. Stupid is what it was.
You mentioned like being able to put that behind you. Like, how do you do that? Do you just go home and go?
I was 12 weeks into a camp. I was thousands. I mean, all I know is to compete. You know, and I don't let myself feel anything. I don't let myself feel. I try to take away all the emotions, so I'm constantly either running from it or I feel like I can control it. But in that instance, it was just like, oh, I fucked up. This is not good. You know, but I've put it so I didn't feel compromised. You know, like externally, not even internally, because at that moment I was ready for war. So.
So it wasn't like playing on your mind as you're like going through fight.
No, not at all. I mean, it was. I had a crazy rubber. You know, I was lubing myself up all day, every day, trying to get it to go away, and it went away really, really well. But yeah, I mean, fucking stupid is what it was at the end of the day. But you know, I had put so much work in, and there was no chance I wasn't gonna. You know, I was gonna back. I've never backed out of a fight. I didn't feel like I needed to then. I still don't think I should have, and I'm glad I didn't. That was a great fight. I was very emotional because I was at home. I think that was the mistake I made, is I let the moment get to me. That's the lesson you learn to the next one.
You're a student of the game, right? You mentioned about, oh, do I need X amount of time after the trauma to be able to keep going and stuff. I'm not saying that you'll look at that fight and go, oh, if only. But do you think maybe if I hadn't had that
Yeah,
crash...
that's why I don't even want to talk about it,
Okay,
because, I mean, I don't fucking know, and I don't want it to sound like anything like that. That's just something that happened, and I'm a dumbass. Like, that is what it is. You know, and I haven't shared it, and that's why I've taken this much time off. You know, that's the reason. I wanted to get my nose fixed. That was a bonus. The nose, it's great. But yeah, that was the reason.
Thank you.
Justin, down here at the back, there was a story that Khabib told recently. I think Dana has told it in the past as well, but I'm not sure I've heard it from your perspective, about when you fought Khabib and he was in the cage asking you if you had jet lag. Could you tell us this story from your perspective?
When I fought him,
Yeah.
no, that's fake news.
He
Again, when you're in the heat of the moment, you don't have time to process words or things being said, because I'm too concentrated on controlling my actions. That's all that matters. We're talking less than seconds, less than inches. Whatever he said, I'd never heard.
And another one as well, we were talking to Michael yesterday about, he seems to think that when Conor McGregor comes back, he's going to be the opponent for that fight. However, your name is also one that would be around that discussion. Is that a fight that interests you, and do you believe he's even going to come back?
I have no idea. I've said a lot of things, never something I didn't think was true. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. He'll fight whoever he wants to fight. I lost, so I guess I have a much better chance now.
What's up, Justin? So Kamaru said on Rogan that people don't have any idea what y'all fighters go through before the camp, and that it's a blessing when you guys actually step in the octagon. So how do you just feel about that comment? Just even talking about riding the bike, that
Yeah,
happened.
that's what I mean. It's all the things that can happen. A car crash, not a serious one, even just a minor one. With some whiplash or some sore joints. Bruised bones. we're all going into these fights with bruised bones. I mean, yeah, it's 8 weeks of high intensity, 6 days a week, and if you aren't, you know, the young guys, you think you're gonna live forever, you think you're invincible, and you don't go home and rest and eat and do those things, then you fall apart real fast. But yeah, making it to the fight is absolutely a blessing because, you know, in order to prepare for something like that, you have to push yourself to these crazy intense workouts. You try to get the partners that are going to take care of you, but you need the partners that are going to push you to be ready for some chaos. So it's a weird middle ground that we have to constantly find. You know, now as we get older, you know, and you know, we make it and we get the resources. You know, we can put an ice bath in I can put an infrared sauna. I can, you know, have a treadmill so that I don't have to, you know, go run up the mountain. I can, you know, have a little bit less impact on my joints. But yeah, it's a blessing every single time.
Have you ever went into a fight 100%?
I mean, I feel like I've always been 100% because I don't allow those things to deter my actions. You know, at the end of the day, when I step in there, there's only 5 things that are going to affect the outcome. Most of it and all of it has to do with my choices, actions, effort, and yeah, those things don't matter anymore. But to make it to the fight, I mean, you just gotta be careful, you know. And it sounds dumb because we're getting ready to do something really dangerous.
Yeah, and one last question: Would you prefer to fight in Trevor's gloves that he has over the UFC?
Yeah, I would say so. Absolutely. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased, but you know, we put these gloves on a lot of athletes, and you know, never have I heard complaints. We're not talking about specifically the 4-ounce MMA competition glove, but the mechanics are the same.
And how's the breathing? Does it make a big difference?
It does make a huge difference. I got to learn how to talk with my nose, I guess. But yeah, it's a big difference. Sleeping, eating, anticipating my food. It's nice.
Thanks, bro. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.